Thank you for joining us today. I want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of signatories of Treaty 7, and I acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who share a deep connection with this land. I am Gurinder Brar, MLA for Calgary Northeast and Small Business Critic. I am joined here by Jugraj Singh Sohi, Navdeep Brar, and Sukhmas Jakhu, who are all small business owners here in Calgary. Small businesses are vital to Alberta's economy, and they are very heart of our communities. Whether it is the local coffee shop, the convenience store, the home flooring store like this, in Alberta, there are 100,000 small businesses employing more than 1 million Albertans, contributing immensely to our economic growth. But we also know the last few years have been challenging. COVID-19 halted operations and forced small businesses to go into debt. Small businesses still struggle with increased costs, while many industries haven't seen revenues return to pre-pandemic levels. They are faced with increased input costs, higher insurance, and finding it difficult to find workers. The CFIB reports that the average small business still carries $85,000 to $100,000 worth of pandemic-related debt. That is why back on June 24th, I wrote to Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland to extend CEBA deadline, which is Canadian Emergency Business Account deadline. Currently, businesses have less than 5 months left to pay back the $40,000 to meet December 31st deadline. If not, businesses will lose up to $20,000 that could have been forgiven by the federal government. CEBA loans allowed small businesses access to critical funding to keep their businesses afloat and Albertans employed, and were designed to be paid back when businesses' operations returned to normal. Talking to any small business owner in Alberta, they will tell you they haven't returned to normal. As the federal government continues to ignore the calls from the thousands of business owners, it is on Daniel Smith to step up. Today, we call on the UCP government to leverage ATB to provide low-interest loans to active businesses struggling to pay back their CEBA loans. Small businesses need certainty for the future and a provincial government that will support them. And providing businesses a low-interest loan will address the anxiety of the looming CEBA deadline without jeopardizing their business. Currently, third-party vendors are prying on owners' fears of being unable to pay back their loan, advertising predatory loans that will bury them in interest for years. We must provide Alberta businesses with vital and viable options that are not predatory loans. A provincial program will also guarantee billions in federal funding through loan forgiveness to Alberta small businesses. In Alberta, 125,015 businesses were approved for CEBA loans at a total cost of $6.8 billion. That means over $2 billion worth of federal small business support is in limbo, dependent on small businesses having the capital to pay back their CEBA loans. Helping businesses with a low-interest loan to help repay CEBA loans is not just helping businesses get back to business as usual, but will actually help keep their businesses operating and potentially growing their business and investing more in their products and in their staff and in our communities. I will now turn it over to the owner of JD's Flooring and Decor World, Jugraj Sohi, to share how this will help small business owners like himself. Jugraj.
Thank you, Alberta Brar, for raising the most important issue, which has every small business owner terrified, with high chance of ending up in more debt or shutting down our businesses. I would like to acknowledge that the CEBA loan has a key relief measure offered by the federal government to keep our businesses running. The timeline to pay back this loan must be extended by the federal government. We as small business owners are looking to the provincial government to step in with some supportive solution, one like MLA Brar has offered today, which might act as a sign of relief to keep our businesses and livelihood alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jigraj. Next, I would like to invite Navdeep Brar, who owns Immigration Consultancy Small Business.
Hello, everyone. I would like to start by thanking Mr. MLA Brar, who has been meeting with many small business owners and trying to propose possible solutions to help us. It's very urgent that elected government of both provincial and federal levels pay immediate attention to the upcoming deadline for CEBA loan repayment on 31st December 2023. To small business have not recovered and also not made enough to save thousands of dollars during these expenses time of high inflation. We fear that we are not able to pay 40,000 by the end of this year. We also have not paid back the additional forgiveness amount of 20,000, which will not result in us being in more debt and eventually shut down our businesses. Time is running out, and we hope our governments will understand our issues and stand us and come with much needed solution for us. Thanks you. Yeah.
Now, I would like to invite Sukhmas Jakhu, who is the owner of Heating and Cooling Services Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Brar and media persons to bring us on this platform. My name is Sukhmas Jakhu, a small business owner of heating and air conditioning services. While COVID pandemic has already broken the backbone of small businesses like mine, the immediate rise in inflation cost of living, utilities, and groceries, all that stuff has raised. People has no business to offer because they already are struggling with high utility bills, struggling to buy highly expensive groceries, which has left us nearly with no business at all, and we request all level of governments to understand the ground reality and come forward to support us, as we do not want to shut down our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone for coming today, and we are happy to take questions if you may have.
Thank you, Gurinder. We'll first go to questions in person.
Aaron with Lavar Calgary. Given the fact that federally the loans have only been paid back by about 17% right across the board, what do you expect the amount that Alberta would have to step up to cover Alberta's portion for this, the ATB?
So basically what we are asking from the federal government is that at least 2/3. Let me explain a little bit. So for example, if somebody has taken a loan of $60,000, what we are asking the federal government, provincial government, is to give them the low interest rate loan of at least $40,000 so that they can pay back that $40,000 to the federal government, and that will forgive them $20,000. So this is our ask, and if somebody has taken less than, not everybody has taken $60,000. So depending upon how much loan they have taken, we are asking to provide the low interest loan of 2/3 of the amount that they have taken.
What's your estimate of what it would cost total for the province to take on this burden?
We can definitely look into the detailed numbers, but it will save $2 billion to small businesses from the federal program if this gets covered. So $2 billion is up for grab for the provincial Alberta small businesses.
And final question for me, is there going to be any more pressure put on to the federal government to extend the deadline beyond December 31st?
Sure, we will continue to call them. We will continue to write to them, reach out to them. And I have, as I already mentioned, that I have already written to them on June 24th to extend this deadline. So we will always, wherever we get an opportunity, we will continue to reach out to them to consider the extending of this deadline.
Hi, Sarah Offen with Global News here. Just for any of the business owners that maybe care to speak to this, I'm wondering if one of you, I mean, COVID went on, I think, longer than than any of us expected, the impacts of that were acutely felt by businesses. But I'm also wondering about many other challenges that you guys have faced since then in regards to staffing, in regards to rent increases. I'm just wondering if you can speak to some of those additional challenges that now complicate things for you in terms of repaying these kind of loans, or just complicate things for you in general right now.
Definitely, high inflation rate and high interest rate impact the small businesses. Like suppose we rent a warehouse, or we have mortgage on the warehouse. Its rate of interest went high. In that way, monthly installment went high, and when we buy the inventory, that is also very high. In that way, as my business is related to the air conditioning, when we buy the air condition, these are very expensive in these days, and people are not willing to pay that much money because they have already struggling. Everyone is struggling in these days due to high inflation rate. We have very little margin compared to our expenses. That is why it is very hard for us to return that 40,000 in these days.
Do you have a follow-up? And any other questions in person?
If the deadline comes and goes, what is your plan then? Well, that's why we are calling this provincial government, that it is not only about 31st of December, it is about the uncertainty that small businesses are facing. They are looking out for the help. They need help at this point. That's why we are calling on Daniel Smith and the UCP, that they need to stand up to address this anxiety, this uncertainty, this level of stress that these small businesses are facing at this point, to have a plan before the deadline approaches. So this is why we are calling on them to have a plan, use ATB leverage, provide the help that these small businesses need.
Has the government responded to you at all? Like, have you heard any feedback from them?
We haven't heard anything from the federal government yet. But as I have already said, that we will continue to reach out to them again, and we will continue to write to them, and we'll continue to bring this issue to their agenda so that this gets addressed on time beforehand.
All right, we're just going to go to questions on the phone. Just a reminder for those joining us on phones to use *9, and for those joining us on Zoom to use the raise hand function. Our first question goes to Deepak from Times of Asia. Go ahead, Deepak, your line is open.
Thank you for the opportunity, MLA Brad. My question is, businesses are still below pre-pandemic sales. So what are the suggestions from the NDP government to the UCP government, NDP party to the UCP government to address this pre-pandemic sales issue?
So the thing is that, Deepak, thank you for the question. The thing is that we are asking for the provincial government to provide the help that they can. Whether it is when we were in campaign, we promised that we will be eliminating small business tax if we form government. If this government will be able to do that, that will really help these small businesses, and it will save at least about $10,000 to any small business owner in Alberta. And at the same time, extending this CEBA deadline will be another huge help of $20,000 to small businesses. So that's what we are proposing to both provincial as well as the federal government.
Do you have a follow-up, Deepak?
No, thank you.
All right, we'll do one last pass for questions on the floor and on the phones. All right, with no further questions, we'll wrap today. Thanks, folks.
Thank you for joining.